Shalom, Rastafari, Assalamu alaikum. Peace to the kings and the queens of the earth. How's everyone doing on this lovely Friday? I hope everyone had a great week and just had a productive week. The weather up here up north is starting to change. It feels good to have the sun out for a few days, so definitely going to try to enjoy that, get things done early, and really enjoy this Sabbath tonight. So today I wanted to be not too long, not too quick. I just wanted to give blessings and shout out one to everyone, but two, May, they say May is the month of kings. Now, that's kind of biased because I know I was born in May 3rd and there's a lot of important birthdays, but we had a great Earthstrong or a birthday celebration of a great man, especially for the Black community yesterday. And this is dedicated to the Honourable Louis Farrakhan. Happy Earthstrong, happy birthday to him. And I wanted to just give him a happy birthday wishes and to also talk to you guys about, if you have never really got to know him or got to listen to him, I suggest you do. And I wanted to just dedicate this podcast to him and just go briefly about what he's mean to me. I've spoken about him many a times, but this person is very dear to my heart. The Honourable Louis Farrakhan actually turned 90 years old. 90 years old, and he's still doing his teachings. He just did Savior's Day about a month ago, right? A nice, good 2-hour, 3-hour speech. I think he spoke for 2 hours at 90, almost 90 years old at that point. Now he's actually 90, and he looks great, and he's competent, and is mentally sharp, and it's amazing to see a warrior who fought for nothing but Black liberation and Black people his entire life. He started off in the streets of Boston, and he was at first a very talented person. His mom is Caribbean, and he never really knew his father, but he has a love for the Caribbean. He has a love for Jamaica. I remember him doing the Savior's Day speech down there in Jamaica, and it was just amazing. But him coming up, he's originally from Boston, and his mom wanted him to be in the arts, right? Had him playing a lot of instruments. I think she had him playing the violin and a couple other things. And he could sing, he could dance. He was an entertainer. Looked like he was going into that realm of being kind of like one of those dancers or those people you might see at the sidebar who was amazing and talented. And maybe he could have, knowing him, the way his spirit was and the way his inner strength and that inner light, who knows what he could have been. He could have just been one of those one-hit wonders, or he could have been one of those singers that, still were going around here entertaining or doing things now. But he, in turn, met, he was heavy in the church, and then he met a man by the name of Elijah Muhammad, and it totally changed his entire life. Master Fard Muhammad was a person who we feel like he's a kind of a savior in the aspect. He came over here from Arabia, unannounced, unknown. He was pretty much in disguise because he was light-skinned. His mom, I think his mom was white or his dad was white. So he was really light-skinned. And Master Fard Muhammad came and met Elijah Muhammad and taught him everything, the religion, and taught him the actual Islamic faith. And that in turn, Elijah Muhammad went on and liberated so many people, including the Honourable Louis Farrakhan. And the reason why he is so important is because this was back then, right? Now he's 90 years old. You got to understand, people don't really get, him doing things in the 40s and 50s and 60s, right? Like on the front line when it was extremely tight, 60s, 70s. These are high intensity times in America's history, especially with racism. So the Honourable Louis Farrakhan was there, and he was also under the tutelage of Malcolm X, because at this point, Elijah Muhammad had also, met Malcolm X, and they were establishing that Muslim religion in the faith and bringing that to neighborhoods like Detroit, Philadelphia, all across the world. There were chapters being set up, and there was mosques being set up. What this did, in turn, was give us, one, our original religion. Most of our forefathers, most of our ancestors, most of our people who came from Africa, it is well known and is well factual that if we do our DNA test, if we do our genetic test, if we can get to that point, that most of our family were actually originally Muslim. No one really kind of had that Christian faith, especially when we went through the transatlantic slave trade. I read books all the time. I read books from a woman who went from her village to, she was probably one of the, like maybe the last 10 or 15 years of slavery, right? So she was one of the last, not one of the last boats, but it was kind of toward the end where the British and the Americans were kind of, and the colonies were kind of going against each other at this point. And she was a full-fledged Muslim. Her parents were Muslim before they were killed, before she was taken over on slavery. And so it's very evident that most of our, ancestors really studied this religion. So one, it gave us the religion that gets back to our calling, our original calling. Two, it gave us the discipline in our communities to rise up and to have that militancy discipline on anything that we do, especially when it comes to Allah or the one God. So after Malcolm X kind of left the nation and, ended up being pretty much set up by the FBI and killed, the nation kind of split. This is the Nation of Islam I'm talking about. The nation didn't really split, but they just kind of retool. And the retool started with the Honourable Louis Farrakhan. He worked tirelessly. He had stories of when him and his wife, didn't make much money at all in the very beginning for almost 10 years. You want to talk about a man who had faith, a man who could have easily just got a second job. And he was talking about how he took other jobs and just didn't work out, right? He mopped floors, did things that just didn't work out, but he put his entire faith into rebuilding the nation. And eventually, by the mid 70s, late 80s, his mosque came and things really went a different way. It really went the right way, actually, if you want to really go into it. So things like that, to me, are a reason why I did not know at first why people did not rush to him, right? People were scared. I remember my parents were the ones that were the black people who were like, oh, he's kind of crazy. He's a little revolutionary. And, it's kind of funny how some black people can then get out of maybe the neighborhood, get out of certain lifestyles, and then they don't want to ruffle the feathers of white people or certain people around them. So they don't like too revolutionary things, right? Because it's almost like, well, we made it, we're okay. So, and that's kind of like, I had to say, that's kind of how my parents were, right? They kind of like, they never really shifted off of Farrakhan. They never, that crazy man, that's what my mom kind of said. And my mom was even nervous when I started growing my beard out at a young age, at like 20, 22. Oh, they're, like Muslim chin strap, and they're going to get you and they think you Muslim, like, things like that. So when you hear this stereotype growing up, you stay away, and you kind of don't have a conscious. Well, when I got back to my real consciousness as I got older, right, as I got through all the lifestyle and all the things I was trying to find myself being, I think I was like the 20s, I was just trying to find myself who I really was. Was I a football player? Was I a leader? Was I whatever? And I sat down, and I remember I went back to him, and I remember it first started off around 2016. I just got back from Texas too, right? And I just literally had dated a female in Texas who I knew for a fact is one of those females that I read about in my other books that, yeah, you might sit there and you might like black men, but ultimately you don't care. You need black bodies around you, right? You might like black dick, whatever. You do not do anything for black people. And when I got back to that and got back to Buffalo, and I was, starting to talk, I was dating someone else at the time because we had broke up a long time ago, but then I dated somebody else who was more conscious, and I started getting back to my teachings. I started really getting back to my full faith. I was getting back to it in Texas, but now I could really unload on it, right? And I literally was working at a place where I can listen to listen to music all day. There was a lot of filing going on, a lot of things of that nature, a lot of blue collar work, but I liked it. It wasn't no big deal. We're getting paid good money. And I literally just put him on YouTube and just started listening to his lectures, listening to his teachings. And if you go to YouTube, there's probably thousands, not just hundreds, there's probably thousands, maybe even more teachings that he has or speeches or lectures, however you want to say it. And I just fell in love right away. There was nothing that he said that I shouldn't have been listening to or doing since I was a child. The care, the love, the education, the discipline, his love for indigenous people, his love for Black people worldwide, and what we need to do as a society to become better. When we just a call for us to be better, the historic things, his going against Babylon fully and protecting us as far as telling us what to need to do. I'll tell you something right now. I will say this: if the Honorable Louis Farrakhan always instilled strength in us and made us feel, or basically not made us feel, but reminded us who we are, on this earth. And he also really, really, really confirmed my belief system now, because a lot of people who are in the Nation of Islam or who are Islamic, obviously, they cater to more of the Quran, right, which is fine. But what Elijah Muhammad taught him and what he has taught to many people is that the Bible is also important. So really, I fell in love with the situation where, I can listen to him because he always refers to the Bible, and that's me. And then I, in turn, right now, I'm on the 38th Surah, but on the tone of my voice. And I plan on continuing and finishing the Quran and then continuing to read it again and again and again. So I really confirmed that my direction of what I believe is in fact accurate and correct. I also love the fact that when he gave love to the Rastafari when he went to Jamaica. You know what I mean? He gave love to all of our people. He loves all of us. And the strength that he has is unbelievable, and it's motivating. If you can't get up and get off your ass and go do something for your people, and this man can, and is still doing it, and has done it for 90 years, I don't know what we're doing. And I just wanted to give, love for him on his birthday. His birthday was actually yesterday, but I only do these podcasts 3 days a week, so I didn't do it yesterday. But today, I just wanted to give him his flowers and the whole Nation of Islam for what they've done to the Black community as far as protecting, being that example of discipline, showing up and just to liberate, just to protect and be around our people. They are, to me, that militant army that we have. We are Black people in America. We are a nation. We're literally a nation, and until we understand that fully, in a whole sense, we're still going to be held back. But the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has been saying this from day one. We are a nation, and the Nation of Islam is also a nation. And I just every time I hear his voice, or every time I hear his teachings, every time I see him smile, laugh, I cheese by myself, and I listen to him 24. There's not probably one day that I have not put on a lecture to him. There's ones I listen to over and over again. If I need to go to a job and say we're trimming for a while, I'm putting Honourable Louis Farrakhan all day. And because you're going to get fed somehow. Even if you heard this speech 20 times, you're going to hear something that you probably either needed to be reminded of or something that you didn't hear before. And he is so dear to my heart, and he lives forever. And he will always live forever. And I'm so glad he is 90 years old, looking great, still talking, and I can't wait to hear him talk again. And Lord willing, Allah knowing, maybe I'll get to see him speak one day. Maybe I'll get to make it to the mosque in Chicago, wherever he's at, and I just figure out just to hear him speak would be unbelievable. So shout out to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Happy Earthstrong. Shout out to the Nation of Islam, and thank y'all for everything. From a Black man, thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving us that power, that strength to survive every day. Happy birthday.